Good morning, it's Andrea Praber with Great Expectations Realty. How are you guys doing today? I am looking a little weird because it is still pretty early, but I figured I would do this real quick video that I've been meaning to do for years and then go about my day, but my phone hasn't really started ringing yet. That's normally like more closer to 9 and it's more closer to 7 right now. So yay, I'll actually get a video out. So anyway, so this video is about questions to ask any real estate agent you're interviewing. I've had quite a few sellers that are interviewing several agents, and sometimes they don't even know the questions to ask, like about transaction fees or cancellation fees or anything like that. And I honestly think that if it's anything to do with money, you should know to ask about it. So especially your money. It's kind of important. And also, about experience and stuff like that. So let's go down a list of a few questions that you can ask any real estate agent that you're interviewing. And I normally recommend that you interview at least 3 agents. I wouldn't go into like 5 and 10. They'll, it'll start to blend and you'll forget who's who and what and who you liked and all that stuff. So unless you take notes, which that's fine too. But anyway, 3 agents should be sufficient. So let's go over some of the questions you can ask. Definitely one is, how long have you been in real estate? Huge question, because you don't want necessarily the first house an agent has ever done being your house. You're the guinea pig for them trying to figure out how to utilize their license. That's really scary. So in some cases, a new agent can be a really awesome thing. I absolutely love new agents. They are so eager. They're so energetic. They are just so happy to work with people. But that's tempered with brand new agents. I work with them. So like, you would never have one of my new agents at your table. You would have me with them right there. So you would actually get both. You'd have the energetic new agent that is just raring to go and wants to try new things and thinking outside the box and, just really, really into it. And then me, where I've seen everything, I've done everything. There's a reason that we don't do some things, we do others. Bad things can happen. So that's just one of those things that I would recommend you ask is, if you have a new agent sitting in front of you, do they have somebody that's mentoring them and working right with them? And if they say, oh yeah, my broker, then where's the broker at? They should be at the table with the person. A lot of brokers have a sink or swim mentality. Just get a whole slew of agents, pop them in front of a phone and see what happens. It's like, no, that's not a good plan. So that's just one of the things that you might want to look into. May we see your references? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have customers that I've worked with for years that have bought and sold several homes, and they're like, please let us put something down for you. You're awesome. We want people to know how awesome you are. Anything that we can do to help you out because you're just a really great agent. Of course. Yeah, of course I can, get them to write you something. I can have you talk to them. I mean, they're willing to help me. They want to help me because they're so impressed with my services. So definitely, if it's a good agent, they will have customers that are just raving fans as well. Absolutely. What is the average days on market for your listings? That's a really good question, because if you have an agent in front of you that is kind of like the sink or swim brokers, where they just get a whole slew of listings, stick a for sale sign out, put a lockbox on, and then that's it. Those agents are not going to do maybe as much with the advertising and so forth as other agents. So you kind of know that based on their average days of listings. So if they have a whole slew of listings, but it takes like a year or a year and a half or something for those to sell in a seller's market, that's a little bit crazy. So if you're getting, like I said, if you have like 3 agents you're interviewing and they, you have their average days of market, you can see which ones are really pushing and really, doing some different marketing techniques. So what is your average listing price to selling price ratio? That's a really good question, because if the agent is they're not really working with the seller as far as what the right market price for the home, and you have to sell your home and you have a specific time frame in mind, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, you need this amount, even though they know that the market is not going to bear that amount. Nobody's going to pay that amount for your house. They should be honest and upfront and actually tell you that. A lot of agents hate talking about the price because, you know, they know it's your home and you think it's the Taj Mahal and it's worth, you know, millions of dollars. But in reality, it's worth about $167,000. It's really hard conversation to have, but a good trained agent, they're going to have that conversation. It's in your best interest. If you say, I want $1 million for my home, a good agent's going to say, that ain't going to happen, sweetheart. It's just not. This is what your house is going to sell for. And, you know, I have to be honest and tell you that. Absolutely have to have that conversation. If they're not having that conversation, you will see that with their other listings. So if they have a listing that's at like $220,000 and it's selling for $167,000, there's a huge gap there. And if it's just one house, okay, that might be something fluky. But if it's on average, not so much. It also shows that they might not be that great with negotiation. And we'll get into that in a minute. Okay, how long is your contract term? That's optional. It's also negotiable normally. Some people, they're like, nope, it's exactly this, 6 months or it's a year or whatever. But it is negotiable. Everything's negotiable. I personally do not do listings for only a couple of months, because by the time I do the pictures and the advertising and getting it out there online and open houses and stuff, the contract's over. And it's like, I barely got started. So, and then once you get the contract, my contract might be expiring before the sale of the house is closed. So I don't want that to happen either. And then you have to get extensions, and it's just, no. I normally do at least 6 months, but that's just me. Other agents will do whatever. So just ask them, because, you know, if they're asking for like something that you're not comfortable with, it's important. Read your contract. That's also extremely important. Is there a cancellation fee? Let's say something happens and you can no longer sell the house, or you're really not happy with the agent that is selling your house. They're not returning your phone calls. Not much has happened with the house, or at least nothing that you're aware of. They're just really, the communication isn't there. You're just really not happy with their services, and you want to cancel and go with somebody else. Is there a cancellation fee? Are there cancellation terms that you need to know about? Really good question to ask. I always figure if you're going to fire me, it's probably because I deserve it. So I don't put a cancellation fee on there, but other agents do. And that's okay, because they have a lot of money wrapped up in it with, you know, the photographer or the marketing or whatever. So they feel like if you change your mind and you have to cancel the contract, they should at least be reimbursed for those fees. So it's not good or bad. It's just personal preference, and you have to check with that agent's personal preference. Sometimes it's also their broker. This is what the broker wants, and that's what they're going to get. So, but again, everything is a negotiation. So don't forget that. Have you sold homes in our area? Really important. If you are talking to an agent, well, I know I get asked all the time to list homes in like Fort Lauderdale or Orlando, or I mean, just all over the place. And I'm like, look, Marion County is like huge area. This map is of Marion County. I don't need to go trekking down to Fort Lauderdale. Plus, it would not be ethical for me to sell in Fort Lauderdale or Miami or something like that. I don't know the area. I have no idea what is going on in a certain neighborhood or something. So maybe everybody else in the neighborhood knows that there's been like 50 different sinkholes on every property. And I'm like, oh, look at these really pretty houses. And, you know, let's go look at this. It's important to know that kind of stuff. Also, I know in my area what's coming in, what's moving, what's, you know, if there's a huge construction thing going on, or maybe a distribution center being built. Hey, FedEx. That's something important to know, because it changes so much in an area. So very important to know that stuff. What is your commission? Ooh, that one's kind of a scary. It kind of goes back to price again. And agents really normally they'll kind of get nervous right about that. So Again, everything is a negotiation, but I'll give you a tip. If you ask an agent what their commission is, and they tell you, and then they say, and then you say, do you want to lower your commission? If an agent says, yeah, absolutely, I'll lower it, how do you think they're going to negotiate the contract of your house? Like, seriously, if the buyer comes along and wants to negotiate a contract and they fold that easily or like stumble all over themselves, how do you think the negotiation is going to go when they're negotiating for you? You have to be educated on how to negotiate. You have to have some experience and some finesse. And if the agent's like, oh yeah, absolutely, you'll see right away if they're experienced agents or not. Not saying that you can't negotiate commission. Absolutely, everything is negotiable. Sometimes I'll say, well, I have to pay this and I have to pay this and I have to pay this. If you don't want those services for your home, I'll go ahead and, lower this. So we just negotiate it out depending on the situation. So absolutely, that can happen. But it's still a negotiation and it's still, something you need to talk about. So watch them carefully as to what they say or how they respond, because if they can't negotiate for themselves, how are they expecting to negotiate for you? Does our house need anything to make it sell quicker or for full price? Normally, there are things that you can do. I've rarely seen a house that is absolutely perfect for absolutely every buyer. And of course, there's, the standard, well, you gotta depersonalize it, make it more of a showplace, more neutral, because you're basically turning your house into a storefront. It's no longer your home, it's a house for sale. So of course, all of that. But there's also normally some stuff that needs a little tweaking, and some agents be like, oh no, it's beautiful, it's the Taj Mahal. Okay, if it really is absolutely gorgeous, great. If you know it's absolutely gorgeous, great, but you probably know there's some stuff to get fixed or whatever. But if they're not telling you that, hey, there are a few things that you could do to increase the value of your home or make it more appealing to more buyers, maybe not so much. Okay. Unless, again, if your house is absolutely perfect and you know it is. But if you know it's not, might want to check on that. Okay. Why do you think you can sell our home? Ooh. So that goes back into the sales skills. I mean, really. Me personally, I normally say because I'm the best. Again, you're interviewing, you're checking to see how an agent represents themselves is how they're going to represent your house. So if they don't have a little bit of finesse, I guess, when they're answering the questions about themselves, if they can't sell themselves, how can they sell your house? So anyway, just a little tip there. These are just little tips. How much can we sell our home for? Again, that's a really, really tough question for some agents because they don't want to offend you. But if they have the data, which they should have a full CMA, which is a comparative market analysis with them. They should have that information and be willing to share it and say, look, this is what the houses are selling for. This is what your house is. This is the comparable houses. These are the ones that have sold. These are the ones that are pending. These are the ones that are active. Active your competition. So let's be competitive. Very simple. It's math. It's not, hurting feelings and stuff. I'm sure they don't mean to. I'm sure they don't want to. But just because you need X amount to move doesn't mean that your house is going to sell for X amount. Sorry. Let's see. What makes you different from the other real estate licensees? I'd say experience for me. But for other agents, they might say, well, I'm bilingual. I have a big presence in international, sales. You might hear, that they're really tech savvy, that they do a lot with the internet. There's a lot of different answers, but, pick the one that's going to work best for your house in your area. Maybe if your house is in a 55+ community, you don't really need somebody that's tech savvy necessarily. You need somebody that knows the neighborhood, knows the HOA, knows that you probably want to put that house in the newspaper. Okay, are there any transaction fees? We kind of already touched on this but at the beginning, but transaction fees annoy me. They really do. They are one of the biggest annoyances to me in real estate because I don't understand them. I do. You get this commission that you're paying this agent, you're paying them this commission, and then there's a transaction fee. And it's different for every brokerage. Some brokerages don't do them, some do, but it's just this extra amount that's put at the end. And of course, everybody can charge them, but you know, I would want to know that as a seller up front. I mean, I would want to know. So anyway, so just ask about transaction fees as well as commission, because both those and the cancellation fees or any other fees, just straight up ask them, sir, are there any other fees that I don't know about that I need to know about? Am I going to have any surprises on the closing statement? So that is not fun. You should be told from the start if there's any fees. Okay. Is there cancellation? We already went through that. Do you have a written marketing plan for my home? Now I have a written marketing plan. It's a 48-point marketing plan. However, there are different things that I do for different houses, depending on the neighborhood and depending on what that house particularly needs. So if it's in like a gated community, probably not going to do as many open houses on that as I would on one that is, you know, closer towards a metropolitan area. If it's a farm way out in the middle of nowhere, again, open house is probably not going to function very well. But that's where you get into, you know, the online advertising, because that's how people are going to see it. And that's where you get, you know, the bigger, brighter photos and getting all that. Anyway, moving on. So for something like that, you need to know exactly what the marketing plan is for your home, not for every home. Not just what the agent is able to do, but what are they specifically going to do for your home and why. There's the really important thing, why. So if I were sitting down with somebody that's in a 55+ community, I'm going to explain, okay, for most houses, I don't do newspaper ads, but for your house, I absolutely am going to do newspaper ads, because the majority of the buyers are reading the newspaper. So, you know, they get the newspaper every day. They actually, you know, if they're going to look in and see you know, houses for sale, they're going to be checking on the newspaper. Whereas somebody that's maybe a millennial, I don't think they're going to be doing that. Some do, but more likely they're going to be looking at an online newspaper, and our city has both. So I would probably, you know, go with that. Anyway, so those are just some kind of stuff that you want to know, is not only what is going to happen for your house, but also why, and make sure that they have a written marketing plan for your home. Okay, last question. Do you have a professional photographer, and who pays for the photographer? Okay, so for us, yes, we use a professional photographer. He's not on staff, but he's ours. We claim him. But a lot of agents just take pictures with their cell phone. I've seen these pictures. Please, all y'all that are real estate agents that are watching this, please stop doing that. Just stop doing that. It's embarrassing. Okay, so that being said, if you have an agent that's like, oh no, I just have my camera and, you know, I'm really good at taking pictures. No, it's completely different. And I was that agent. Don't get me wrong. I totally was that agent. I actually had this really nice Nikon. I absolutely love my Nikon. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips with my little Nikon. And I went in and I had flash and I would take these bright, beautiful pictures. Well, unfortunately, one day my Nikon was stolen. It was heartbreaking, so I went and got another $100 Nikon. But in the meantime, I had a listing appointment. What am I going to do? I don't want to take those cell phone pictures. They're so crappy. So I called a local photographer, and I was like, please, can you, he's a real estate photographer. Can you come and take these pictures? Absolutely. It was a few $100s. And he had a drone license, which he got aerial shots. So it showed like the whole neighborhood. It showed so beautiful and green, and you could see that there was like, this park over here that you wouldn't have even really known aside from these aerial photos. And then on the inside of the house, he took these amazing, bright, beautiful photographs. He gave me some tips as to, you want to take up the area rugs because it's going to make it look smaller in the pictures. You want to get like all the windows open, turn off the ceiling fans, but turn on the lights. I mean, he gave me all these tips because he's, working through, room by room. Nothing I would have even remotely known. But then I got the pictures back and they were something out of a magazine, and it made this house look so beautiful. And he didn't use Photoshop and he didn't use touch-ups. It was just best face forward for this house, and the house sold within days. It was just gone because I, of course, was so proud of these pictures that I was putting them everywhere. And so needless to say, I humbly used my new Nikon while taking pictures of my kids at extracurricular activities at school. But I have not used it for a house since I was put in my place. Use a professional photographer. They are phenomenal. It's worth the money. And personally, I feel that my commission should cover that. That's a service that I provide. Again, negotiable, because, if you're asking for a lower commission or something like that, I gotta put some money out somewhere. But for me personally, I use a professional photographer every time, and the pictures are just absolutely amazing. And you need to have that edge when you're in this market. So anyway, so that's my little bit of advice, but not all agents think that way. They have their little Nikons or little Canons or whatever, and they're like, oh, this is good enough. Well, good enough is not good enough for your house. So that's just something, words of advice that I would want to share with you. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. My cell phone number should be around here somewhere on the screen. And I guess, yeah, that's it. So anyway, you guys have a great morning, and I'm going to go answer some phone calls probably in the not too distant future. So have a great day. Bye.